This symposium is organized by the Faculty of Theology and Religious Studies, University of Groningen, Institute of Philosophical Studies as Science and Research Center of Koper. It is a part of an ongoing research project called Creatures, Humans and Robots, which is an interdisciplinary project with philosophers, theologians, intellectual historians, aestheticists.
It's a great pleasure for me to welcome everyone to this wonderful symposium on religious philosophy between humanism and post-humanism, and then also indeed specifically focusing on AI.
Warm welcome to everyone on behalf of our Institute of Philosophical Studies. I'm really glad that we all have gathered from our research team and of course all other colleagues and friends. Thanks to Goraz for organizing this and to Faculty of Theology and Religious Studies from the University of Groningen.
And to be human is the only way out of being human. Unbinding sentience from sapiens cannot go beyond the human. So we are sort of locked up in our humanity. And he also makes the point, and I think this is maybe an interesting discussion point for the next 2 days, in delivering sentience from its so-called sapient yoke, one does not become post-human. Because he says that is still the very idea of a human conservatism that continues to misrepresent the accidental and the locally contingent as necessary and universal.
I will compare Christian ecofeminist ethics of relationality in terms of interconnectedness of all beings, human and non-human, natural human and non-human beings in the web of life, in terms of interconnected subjectivity, to transhumanist ethics of human enhancement and technological singularity. And then further on, I will try to expose a critique of transhumanism and its possible misuse of technological power over human and nature from the lenses of Christian ecofeminism, since new superintelligence could derive accelerating technological progress, leaving ecofeminist, ecocentric egalitarianism behind, while driving toward post-humanism as its final goal.
On the background of the existence of brain beings and objects, God exists as a supreme bulk being. God passes through our worlds, which are affected by this gravity in ways we do not yet know how to apprehend or scientifically describe. As an enhanced spiritual material quantum being, God subtly passes through the surface of brain beings, which report these weak passings as mystical experiences. The interactions of God with brain beings establish weak correspondences between brain beings and God or deities. Now with Caputo, God can happen anywhere. And I would like to wind up this talk with "The world is full of gods."
There was someone at Microsoft who picked up on this because people interested in information communication technology tended to have a kind of monistic account of why we communicate. And the idea, and the clue is kind of in the name, the idea was that we communicate in order to exchange information. And this person, Richard Harper, whose background is in social science and ethnomethodology, thought that there was something limited. It's not that we don't communicate to exchange information, but that if you think this is the only reason for communicating, it will limit the kind of technology you create, because what will count as good technology will be purely a matter of how much information does it get across and how fast, or something like that. And so he got interested in this idea of pluralism in relation to the reasons why we might communicate and how this might expand the range of things we're looking at when we're designing or researching into design for ICTs.
But the way that the sort of benign omniscience of Google pretending to, I mean, obviously what Google does is shape the world. What Facebook claims to be doing is just omnisciently connecting people benignly together in community, when we all know that that's not what's happening. So I guess I'm thinking more specifically on the kind of maybe I should say techno-political, although I would still argue that democratic life this is a Dewey point. Leonard brought up Dewey earlier, that democratic life depends upon learning processes, and that learning processes involve a kind of noch nicht, a negation of an imperfection. And that's why I think that sort of, if you think of a divine mind as potentially learning, that is a much more democratic way, because it allows God to participate in the ongoing drama of the universe.